Today, we're going to dive into an idea that honestly sounds completely backwards at first: the hidden and frankly surprising value of what most of us would call a bad passport. And it all kicks off with a really specific and very expensive little puzzle. So here it is, the big question that frames this whole explainer. Why in the world would somebody fork over more than $100,000 for a passport that ranks 137th in the world? And let's be clear, we're not talking about some pocket change for paperwork. This is a serious six-figure chunk of cash, a major investment. All for a passport that, if you just look at the normal rankings, is kind of near the bottom of the barrel for visa-free travel. On the face of it, it makes zero sense. But what if we've been measuring passports the wrong way this whole time? We're about to break down why this seemingly crazy move might actually be a stroke of genius. All right, so here's our game plan for cracking this nut. First, we'll dig into the specific case of this six-figure bad passport. Then, we're going to challenge the whole idea of what makes a passport good. After that, we'll uncover the real value: investment. Then we'll look at it as a geopolitical hedge. And finally, we'll piece it all together into a strategy called a passport stack. Let's jump in. So, our story really kicks off with the guy who inspired this whole thing, Andrew Henderson, the founder of Nomad Capitalist, and his decision to get a Cambodian passport. At first glance, you gotta admit, it's a real head-scratcher. You know, the typical reaction, especially for someone who already has a powerful passport, like one from the US, is to think this is just a terrible idea. I mean, why would you ever want to trade down? But what if that's looking at the whole chessboard from the wrong side? And that leads us straight to the core of this whole idea. We've got to redefine what passport quality even means. It's time to look way beyond the one metric everyone always talks about: visa-free travel. Okay, this right here is where we need to totally rewire our brains. For decades, it's all been about one thing: how many countries can I visit without a visa? But for a certain type of person, a global entrepreneur, that's level one. That's a solved problem. The real game, the advanced level, is played with these other metrics. What kind of investment access does this key unlock? Does it diversify my risk in the world? Does it grant me special regional perks, or even a better tax situation? This is where the real value is hiding. You know, there's this great little story that just perfectly illustrates this point. It's about a guy from Nicaragua who was absolutely convinced he had a terrible passport. And his whole reason: he needed a visa to visit the US. He was so fixated on that one thing that he completely ignored the fact that his passport gave him amazing access all across Europe and South America, not to mention a fast track to Spanish citizenship. It's a perfect example of how tunnel vision can make you miss the gold right in front of you. So here's the bottom line. If you're already holding a strong passport from, say, a Western country, you've already won the visa-free travel game. Getting another passport that's also good for travel is, well, it's kind of redundant. The strategy has to pivot. It's got to be about what else a passport can do for you. Okay, so if it's not about travel, what is it all about? Well, that brings us right here. The real value: investment. This is where we shift from thinking about convenience to thinking about pure economic opportunity. It's about getting a key to doors that are locked tight for foreigners. And this is exactly why someone would shell out that kind of money. Suddenly, you're not an outsider looking in. You're on the inside. You're a local. You can buy any piece of real estate, even cheap agricultural land that could be worth a fortune someday. You can get into local property deals, start a business without all the red tape foreigners face, and even get treated better by the banks. These aren't just little perks. They are game-changing economic advantages. And a potential upside? Well, it can be absolutely massive. Just look at this example from a similar play over in Georgia. Land was bought for 99 cents a square meter. Later on, it was valued at $80. That is an 80 times return. Now, yeah, that's a home run. Not every investment's going to do that, but it just goes to show you the kind of power we're talking about when you can get in on the ground floor as a citizen. But you know, it's not even just about the money. This is where we zoom out and look at the real big picture. We're talking about using citizenship as a geopolitical hedge. In a world that feels like it's getting more unpredictable by the day, this is about diversifying your life to protect yourself from shocks you can't see coming. And the name for this strategy is the passport stack. The analogy is perfect. Think of it just like a financial portfolio. You don't put all your money in one stock, right? So why would you tie your entire life and freedom to the fate of just one country? The idea is to have a collection of passports that give you options, that make you resilient when those crazy black swan events hit. The philosophy, the motto driving all of this, is actually really simple but also pretty profound. Go where you're treated best. It's about being proactive. It's about seeking out countries that have policies that are good for you, whether that's about taxes, business, or just personal freedom, instead of just passively accepting the hand you were dealt at birth. And here's where the strategy gets even cooler. That one passport isn't just a key to one house, it can be a master key to an entire neighborhood. A Cambodian passport, for instance, isn't just about Cambodia. It's your ticket into ASEAN, that massive, fast-growing economic community in Southeast Asia. Same idea with an African passport for the African Union or a Paraguayan passport for Mercosur. You're not just buying into one country, you're strategically plugging yourself into the economic engines of the future. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how does somebody actually do this? How do you build one of these things? So for our last section, let's get practical and break down the strategic approach to building your own passport stack. It really boils down to 4 logical steps. First, you grab the easy wins. Any citizenships you can get through your family tree, your ancestry, claim them. They're basically free. Second, you cover your bases. Make sure you have one strong passport that's your daily driver for global travel. Then, step 3 is where you get strategic. You add those investment keys we've been talking about, like the Cambodian one. And finally, step 4, you diversify. You make sure you have flags planted in different parts of the world so you're never all in on one region's politics. So, when you boil it all down, the big takeaway is this fundamental shift in thinking. The value of a passport in the 21st century might be less about where it can physically take you on vacation and a whole lot more about what it empowers you to do, to invest, to build, and to secure your own future. Which leaves us with one final question, something for you to chew on. In this increasingly complex and uncertain world we live in, what is your passport a key to? Is it just a booklet for getting through airport lines, or could it be something much, much more?